When you are.
All right. We're just having a conversation over. I've Americanized this meal. I'll explain it to you in a minute. But welcome to
Yeah.
Dinner at Mesrick's. This is my buddy Ravin, whatever you want to call him, or I don't know. His name is too complicated. It's only 4 letters in the UK, but they've got this whole like Cillian Murphy thing, so I just ignore it. I just call him Ravin. How the fuck are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. Just popped to the shops, made myself my fry up, and yeah, I'm excited to do this. I'm happy to be here. Should I start with my food, or do you want to start with yours?
So you're going to say what an English breakfast is and what you cooked, and then I'll tell you how I edited it to make it American.
Cool, lovely. So an English breakfast is, traditionally, it consists of sausages, egg, fried bread, or toast. Either one works, but most people go fried bread, bacon, beans, black pudding, which I honestly have no idea what it is. I have never had it before, and it looks terrible, but I'm the English guy, so, black pudding. There is also fried tomatoes and mushrooms, but I couldn't find any tomatoes for some reason. I hate mushrooms, so I've just gone with sausages, bacon, egg, toast, beans, and yeah, that's it. Very simple. But it will definitely clog up your arteries. So
that was one thing I was noticing, that I was making all these, like frying them in different oils and stuff, and well, not different, but just frying a bunch of things kind of in the same pan, and I'm like, God, this is really fucking unhealthy. Like, this is like really so unhealthy.
It's really bad.
I've been watching this show called Top Boy, so I kind of know what's going on in the UK right now. No, but realistically, love the show. But there's a scene where one of the second in command guys is making breakfast for one of the homies, and he brings him a full English breakfast, a fry up, if you would. And he's like, "Man, you eat this every day?" He's like, allow this. And I'm like, yeah, let the fat man eat. What the fuck are we talking about, bro? I also forgot mushrooms. I forgot mushrooms. I was excited about the mushrooms, but I totally spaced on them. The fried tomato is surprisingly good. I don't like hot tomato, especially if it's like comes in like an Uber Eats. I take off the tomato. But this was weirdly good because I fried it in all of the stuff I fried the sausage in, so it's got that meaty flavor, which is weird.
It all, you get all the oils and just the meat. What's the word I'm looking for? It just, like you said, it all combines together. It's good. Actually, I baked my bacon. Not baked, but I put it in the oven. You know what I mean? Because I'm not much of a bacon eater anymore because, it's definitely the worst kind of food you could eat consistently. I think I read somewhere eating a bacon sandwich takes off a week of your life.
No, pork is not good for you. It just tastes really good.
Yeah, it's terrible for you, but it's really nice, and you can't help yourself. But yeah, I did it to sort of make it a tiny bit more healthier, but it's still really, really bad for you.
I forgot a bunch of things. I'm broke. I'm an idiot. I didn't plan till last minute. I had a couple things tucked away and then used some of them this week, totally forgetting that I needed them. So instead of bacon, I chopped up a bunch of bologna and fried it up. And while that isn't the same thing, I covered 2 or 3 of the meats, and then
it's close enough.
We don't have Heinz beans. I look at them every single day on the shelf. And today, or the other day when I went and looked for them, they were just out. And I called out sick from work last night, so I couldn't go back and double check. But it was one of those things I'm like, God damn it, the one time I need them, they're out. We only get like 2 cases in every 2 months or something ridiculous. So that was unfortunate. So I used chili. Now, I think it isn't as good as, and the same flavor that an English breakfast is, but as far as bullshit on a plate, I'm killing it right now.
Yeah, no, it sounds really good. I think I wouldn't honestly mind, I haven't had bologna before. I think that's just processed sausage, kind of like a hot dog sausage.
It's like a hot dog. You're not sure what's in it.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. But yeah, it doesn't sound like, the worst thing you could have made. Chili's great. You can't go wrong with chili. It's, the one downside I do hate about, English cuisine is that it's really fucking bland and boring. Like, my options from when my mum would cook, dinner, because, she's white, I'm white, there's nothing much interesting going on. It would either be a full English for dinner, which we do sometimes have if it's a special occasion, or a Sunday dinner, which is the worst fucking thing I have ever eaten in my life, because there's so much on the plate, but there's nothing going on. It's very much just when you start eating, different kinds of, cuisine from other cultures, like, Mexican, Chinese, Korean, stuff like that. And then you go back to eating bland, shitty food smothered in gravy. with Yorkshire puddings. It's very much just it kind of sucks, but it's what we know. It's what we cook. You can only go so far with it, I suppose. But I can't complain too much. I will complain because I'm a bitch. So yeah,
a roast dinner is roasted meat, mashed potatoes, roasted potatoes. So 2 types of potatoes, and it accompanies such as Yorkshire pudding, stuffing, gravy, and condiments such as applesauce, mint sauce, and red currant sauce.
Yeah, that's basically it. But normally, the way I used to have it was just it'll be chicken. Roast chicken sucks because there's no seasoning. All the flavor comes from the gravy that you have with the roast. Chicken's chicken, but it just when you put nothing with it, it sucks. But normally, a good chicken would be, you slap all the spices in there that you can, like sage, thyme, rosemary with pepper, salt, and pardon me. Just I don't know. There's you can do quite a fair bit of a roast dinner, but what I am adjusted to is it will keep you. It serves the purpose of being food where you won't die if you eat it, but it's not from the more joyful side of food where you're eating good food. You're eating something that is fulfilling to taste buds. It stimulates you. It excites you. It's food. Not bad food, not good food, but it's food nonetheless. But the fry-up is just covered in grease, so you could sort of, get away with enjoying it a lot more, especially if you're deadly hungover and you need grease. A fry-up will get you going, but it also will probably kill you in a couple of years. But again, what do I know?
Yeah, no, I'm seeing the well, it's so interesting because I've watched so many television shows from the UK, like, whether it's, dramatized or not. Because I know that some American shows you look, it's like, that's not at all how America is. But then you're looking at some of the SVU episodes, like, yeah, that's accurate. What do you think is a show that perfectly, encompasses what UK London life is like that you've watched that you think Americans would know about?
I would honestly, I'd give you 2. I'd give you Skins and Top Boy. Because while they are very much, over dramatic and a bit more dramatized because it's a television show.
Yeah.
They do actually capture very niche but key aspects of English culture. Like Skins is more so the young teenage party quote unquote life where girl troubles, drugs, alcohol. It's like stuff that at first glance you'd look at and be like, oh yeah, it's just typical party stuff. Edgy kind of stuff, you know what I mean. But when you look into it more deeper, actually, portrays properly what it's like to live in this country as a teenager and how what's the word I'm looking for is just it's complicated. That's it. It perfectly captures how complicated life here can be from when you're growing up, like it is anywhere. Because you're discovering yourself, but then you're thrown all these aspects that sort of fuck with your development, people, drugs, just mishaps. It's all sorts of different things that contribute to what kind of person you'll become. And same with Top Boy in a way, because it more so covers what crime can be like here, because it's definitely also to an extent dramatized where you see a guy in a Nike tracksuit and automatically assume he's a violent drug lord or whatever the fuck it is.
Well, he's a roadman, right?
When in reality, roadman, yeah. So, I don't like using the word roadman, but yeah, roadman. But actually, Top Boy really perfectly demonstrates also what it's like to grow up in, a low-income household and why people turn to crime in the first place is to, make enough money to survive. Because it's normally a single-parent household with sometimes more than one child, and it also incorporates how grooming goes into account, where people will take young vulnerable kids.
Well, that first scene where the girl, the lesbian woman, was like, "Hey man, chat with me or chat soon. You'll be working for me soon." And I'm like, "Oh, that's silly." And then 5 episodes later, he's like, "I got to work. I got to work," and I'm like, "Holy shit, that was a week." That wasn't even oh man, this kid's been trained since baby. That was a week of him. Fuck, I need some peas.
It's realistic. Because what will actually happen is that these people need drug mules, unsuspecting people to carry stuff for them, and they'll groom them in, they'll bring them in with money, act as a confidant, they'll rope them in, and then basically blackmail them and use like what they gave them as leverage over them for them to do what they want to do until either they, in most cases, die. Because it's really fucking unfortunate to how that has affected our country. It's like we have stuff like violent stabbings. Like just literally less than a week ago, a young woman, like not even a woman, a girl, like a 15-year-old girl in Croydon was stabbed by her ex-boyfriend because she didn't take him back. And he stabbed her not with like a normal kitchen knife, but with a fucking machete. Like, think about that. People are carrying around, like young children are carrying around fucking machetes and just absurd weapons because of like so many different factors, but it mainly all stemmed from gang crime. And, you know, the grooming that comes from gang crime. It definitely, it really encapsulates how that entire like aspect of, you know, British culture just sort of, you know, affects people. And it's a really good show. Like you said, it's a really, really good show. And I haven't seen season 3. I've heard good things. But
I was watching The Gentleman a long time ago. Maybe about a year ago, I talked about it. Charlie Hunnam. Oh my God. Matthew McConaughey, Charlie Hunnam, he's selling puff and he tries to flip over his company because Matthew McConaughey wants to get out. And then Charlie Hunnam is a second man. Hugh Grant's in it and he's telling Charlie Hunnam a story of everything that's occurred up to this point. Beautiful movie, great, love it. But there's this one scene that was in a short that I watched, which is the reason I watched the movie. And it shows like, oi, big man, just, you know, he needs to get a telephone because it recorded a murder. You know? And he's like, oi, big man, how about you leave the bag and fuck off? And he's pointing at him with a machete. I'm like, who carries around a machete? And then Charlie Hunnam pulls out a MAC-10 and starts firing it into the air. And at first I'm like, oh, well, shouldn't these gangsters, you know, be okay with it? But no, guns aren't a thing. You have to illegally get guns more often than not. It's not like America where 30 days and you've got yourself an you know what I mean? Like, so the machete thing is crazy because you just, that example that you brought up. Do you think social in our current age with the youths and everything is currently affecting the rise of crime in the, because the overglorification of it, because even drill, I listen to a lot of Trap Lore Ross. I like drill music. It's cool. I don't understand a lot of it because I'm a white kid from California, but watching that energy and that heaviness in those beats and those fucking lyrics, does that affect what a kid growing up would do? Or do you think it's just kind of lay of the land? They just have a more of an opportunity to share or to, I guess, learn and grow with these things and make their own decisions? I
would say that yes and no. Because, okay, for one, like you said with, you know, drill music, that is a scapegoat. I will say it's a scapegoat.
Okay. All right. Hot take with Ravin.
It's a scapegoat that people say that, oh, you know, drill is the reason why people like young children, you know, they're violent, they're gang crime. When, well, I'm not going to disagree that it does glorify, you know, that kind of lifestyle to an extent. You can also see that there's just normal kind of drill that's not, you know, glamorizing the, you know, roadman lifestyle. It's just, you know, it's like just wrapped with more of, I don't know what a word for it is, but it's a lot more like just different than just saying that it's just, you know, gang rap or whatever the fuck you want to call it. But it isn't always just glorify that lifestyle. It's just people that have come from, you know, different backgrounds, more so less privileged backgrounds that are, you know, building themselves up with their talent. And, you know, they want to, you know, show their experiences and show like themselves with music, which I know a lot of people to do. Like I have a couple of close friends who, you know, go into that kind of shit and enjoy it, and they make good music. It's not just I thought you meant go into gang drugs. Shit. No, like again, like I love drill. I'm not about to pretend that like oh, I'm a part of this lifestyle or whatever. But I've known a lot of people who have been close or in that lifestyle, and a lot of the time, again, people like to assume stuff because they'll take stuff at face value. They'll look at drill and immediately assume, oh, this is gang rap. Like, people are going to see this and start stabbing people, when that's not the reality. It's not anywhere remotely close to what actually happens in relating to gang crime and, you know, violence in our country. It's definitely a scapegoat. And, you know, it's a bit annoying to people immediately just shut it down. It's just fueling crime when it's not. And I know your point was also social media. And I'd also disagree to an extent where social media doesn't really have much of an impact, but it can sort of be where people will, when you're a kid, you like to, you want to show off sometimes. If you have this kind of stuff that you get through illicit means or through someone providing that towards you in an illicit manner, you show that off. Like you show off a new games console or the latest pair of shoes, like, or, just like new clothes or that kind of thing. Like it's definitely showing off because a lot of kids can be rooted in, jealousy and envy because they want stuff that they don't have, that other people that they see have, when in reality, the stuff, most of the time, unless they're very well privileged and well off, the stuff that they're getting just obtained through illicit means and, end up being more to their detriment than to their benefits. So you can argue that it does have an effect, but not as much as people would probably think. I'd say, honestly.
Are there, in my area, there was a lot of rich kids that got into, I almost said gang shit, but got into worlds they didn't belong in because of how much money they had, because of that. Is that more of a part of London where you see these kids that are like, being gangsters or pretending to be gangsters and then they go home to mommy and daddy? Or is it an all around, like, a certain age group is going to be doing these illicit things? Like, do you live in a bad area?
Not the best area, not the worst area. It's okay. It's not as bad as you might think from first glance. So
there's a little bit of graffiti.
There's
a little bit of graffiti, but there's not blood everywhere.
I mean, graffiti's not really common with gang crime or whatever. It's just graffiti artists are common in this country because people just like to art is a way to express yourself, and graffiti is a deep-rooted way of expressing yourself in this country. Like, Banksy has like several pieces in this country, and there's so many. Like, if you go to just say Camden Town, okay, it's not the best example, but when I go there and I look at like bridges or I go past a certain area, I will see graffiti everywhere, and that's not a sign of it being like a low-income area or a crime-ridden area. It's just a sign that people want to express themselves. They want to enjoy themselves.
Is graffiti a felony in the UK or is it a misdemeanor?
Yes.
Okay, still a felony.
I think. Oh wait, I know it's a crime.
It is a crime, but a misdemeanor and a felony are two very different things. They've just decriminalized. Not decriminalized, but they've just dropped graffiti from a felony to a misdemeanor in, I believe, California and Washington, two of the states I've done graffiti in. And so I was like, dope. That's really cool. So you've seen this weird rise of, especially in lower income areas, which is in America, what that means is more graffiti, more, bad things occurring more often than not, because it means that the police presence isn't as high. It means that the people aren't looking out their windows as much. They're minding their own business, which is good to a certain extent. I don't want some fucking 12-year-old shot for writing penis on a wall. You know what I mean? But at the same point, yeah. I feel like it will be good, but sometimes even blessings like that are still shrouded with bad things because a lot of people in graffiti are also criminals because of their felonious past. They can't actually become what society would deem a member of this society, so they just stay underground. So crime begets crime begets crime. So I was wondering if it was any different in the UK, because I know a lot of UK artists. I follow a lot of people from the UK and from Europe and all that, and they go fucking in, but I feel like police presence is so much different in these countries,
Yeah, it's definitely more so where police presence will be in places where it feels unnecessary. Like
unnecessary.
For example, 420. Okay. You know what 420 is? In this country, it's a big thing because there's this park called Hyde Park. It's a massive park within the heart of London. And a lot of people go there during 420 just, to smoke. It's a massive park. There's lots of green. There's hardly any pavements on there. And it's just a massive free area for people to just, go and smoke and enjoy themselves. And more recently than not, in relation to, gang crime, just road member behavior, quote unquote, and stuff like it's where these kind of situations will get thrown into disarray because people will use these situations to exploit others. Like, for example, the last this event is three people have been stabbed.
It's a sanctioned. Is it a sanctioned event, or is it one of those things where they're like, "Oh, show up, mate," and everybody kind of word of mouths it because it becomes that big?
Yeah. It's like word of mouth kind of thing. It's not sanctioned properly or properly done by anyone. It's just like let's go somewhere to smoke because people like to smoke reasonably. Don't blame them. But yeah, every time these events will happen, people will get stabbed. People will get robbed. People will get, arrested, even when sometimes they've done fuck all wrong. Like, it's not illegal to smoke weed in of itself. It's illegal to carry a certain amount. Like, if you're caught carrying, they will assume you're dealing and you'll get arrested for it. I think it's about, more than like 8 grams. I might be wrong, but
so there are a lot of states here where it's the same thing, where you can smoke it and you can possess it, but you cannot purchase it.
Yeah, exactly.
What?
It's weird.
The fuck do you mean?
Because the police go to these events and just, they have a presence because you assume for dealers, when in reality, they don't really do anything of importance other than just stick around. And if like if there's a massive upheaval within the groups that are there, they'll get involved. But other than that, they really don't do much else other than just dick around. And it's, when you're there, I've gone there about 3 times. When you're there, you ask, why are you here? What is the point? What is the purpose? Like,
there's a place in Golden Gate Park in San Francisco where everybody will... for 420, it's a huge fucking event. It's not sanctioned, just everyone knows to go there. And there's a very big police presence. There's people walking around with pound bags, like giving out weed. They're not going to arrest all these people. It's physically impossible to arrest all these fucking people. Now, granted, if there's a dude going around selling to children, we're going to try to figure it out, but everybody's going to get some weed. Everybody's going to get high. You know what I mean? So you see them, and then even there's always those viral videos every fucking year for ever since because I moved there in, I think, 2011, 2012. So every year for like the 3 years I was there, it was just a cop smoking a bong load, hitting the beer bong. Fuck, he's having a great day. He's in uniform. Fuck him. He'll deal with the consequences later. You know what I mean? Like... And it's one of those things that you see it and you're like, okay, so what are we doing here? But then you also, San Francisco is a very dangerous place, just like London. So it gets to a point where people are waiting on the outskirts to rob people super high walking away from the event. You've probably got something. So I do feel that, but I don't feel like the overall presence is necessary sometimes, Like you said. So, how quick is a reaction time for the police in the UK? Do you think the Johnnies are right on it, or is there someone dying in the street and you just kind of deal with it for an hour?
Well, it depends. I actually have an interesting story. I might have told you this already, but...
I'm listening.
Okay, so around 2 years ago, I was with a couple of friends of mine. One of my friends had a pseudo party going on where they were like, hey, come down to Hyde Park. Not Hyde Park, Primrose Hill, which was another park in London, very well-known park. They're like, hey, I'm having a birthday thing, come to Primrose Hill. It's to get together, a bunch of people will be coming, just come along, have fun. And we came along, and it was, it was a decent time, it was nice. I brought one of my friends along, essentially. When she came along, what ended up happening is that, to put it really shortly, there was this group of people there who were, looking to rob people, and they were targeting me and my friend because they'd given her a random pill that she decided to take because she's an idiot. Again, stupid kids. Yep. I digress. It is what it is. And yeah, after this happened, it got to the point where basically I almost got robbed by these guys.
I remember this. I remember this story. I do.
Yeah. So as I was about to be robbed by these guys, I knew they were following me a little later on with my friend. My other friend just came in and was like, hey, are you all right? Because we got splitting up. And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And I just sort of hurried past him. And then they changed their target from me to him for whatever reason. And then they went after him. A whole fight ensued. They fucked off because they couldn't fight 2 dudes. And what happened was my friend ended up getting a massive cut on his head. Like a massive cut that he had to get stitches on and done for. And when we called the ambulance, apparently 2 other instances happened where someone got stabbed and someone else got attacked by, I think a bottle got smashed and they got stabbed with it, I think. Memory's hazy. But yeah, when we called the ambulance, they said it would take about 3 hours for it to come. And, it's Friday. It's about almost 11 o'clock at night. It's reasonable. But also at the same time, it's like, what if this was more severe? What if, he was in the middle of dying? What if he had actually, someone had nicked one of his arteries, or, he was... Anything else could have happened that would have been more severe. And if we had been given that time frame, he might have died. And again, what if I was injured as well? Because, when I tell the story, it's like 12 guys on one. I'm a short fucking guy. I'm 5'7". I'm not that great of a fighter, but these 12 guys could not put a hand on me. They sucked. But if they had a weapon, like a knife, a machete, or God forbid, a gun, like anything other than their bare hands, I could have been fucked. I would have been in a serious fucked up situation. Like I could have been injured, and I'd have to wait for 3 hours, basically, is what I'm saying. And that scared me. And it's scary to think about. Like, that was with, post-COVID, where, the NHS was under scrutiny because they were understaffed, underpaid. For American viewers, the NHS is basically, healthcare system. It's free. It's meant to not be privatized, but there's currently a lot of, controversy surrounding that because people in our parliament want to privatize it and, make people pay for it like you do in America, which would be really bad because Mesrick, I love you, but your healthcare sucks.
No, it's
really
ridiculous. No, like it's one of those things that a couple of my friends are dealing with health concerns at 30, just like existing. And it's like $5,000 for them to have a doctor be like, oh, that's kind of fucked up, isn't it? And they're like, yeah. They're like, all right, well, I'm going to send you to someone else. You owe me $5,000. They don't tell you that, of course. They check mark a box. And then, if your insurance can handle it or if your insurance can deal with it, cool. But the biggest issue is so many different insurance companies cover so many different things that you can't even guarantee that your GP is going to be good, let alone the specialist you have to go to and everything else. But I also know the flip side of that is that if you have something wrong with you in the UK, it's 3 months to get an appointment? 4 months?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, granted, it's getting worse and worse here, but even there, like, I couldn't imagine, like, oh, I've got this, I'm coughing up fucking blood, and there's an emergency room, but overall, do you guys have emergency rooms? Yeah, like hospitals and shit? Yeah, you got, like, hospitals, but even there, do you get a bill from that, too?
No, we don't get billed for anything other than, I think, medication.
That's insane.
As far as I'm aware.
It's fucking
other than,
insane.
Like, maybe, like, special procedures, but, like, normal stuff, like, you'll get put on a list, like say for a liver transplant or kidney like transplant, like something, or like blood transfusion, or surgery, anything like severe. You just you'll get put on a waiting list for it, unless it's you're going to die because of it. But yeah, it's not the best. It's definitely still in a very tight spot where you're just sort of restricted, and you can only do so much that that the NHS can do for you. But it's definitely not as bad as some other countries. It's not as good as some other countries, but it's it could be way, way, way fucking worse.
Like not existing, like it not being there. Just good luck.
Oh yeah, you paying like fucking how much for a fucking ambulance? So
yeah. I was about to say, like, you called 3 children called an ambulance. That doesn't happen in America. Like,
like that's what I think. Was it like $1,000, like $2,000?
It's $5,000
for an ambulance. Come pick. Fucking hell!
It's
man.
like
$5,000 for an ambulance.
How much is an ambulance in Seattle? It is okay. Never mind. It's a little bit less, but adds up because it starts at a base of a G, and then gets up to about $3,000 to $4,000 after everything else, and then. Because you called the ambulance, you called the ambulance, they have to pay them and all that stuff. And then when you get there, fucking forget about it. If you've got something going on, there's $25,000 right out the, right in the building.
Jesus fucking Christ! Yeah, I cannot imagine that at all.
And we still keep eating Wendy's.
It's definitely, there's some things that I will, say about America that just the country sucks. But sometimes we're no better. We're just as bad. Like we have gone through. God knows how many fucking prime ministers in the space. A single, we have a general election every. I think it's for
Boris Johnson people.
For our prime minister. That's our prime minister.
Okay.
No, it's 5 years actually. So a term is 5 years. So, and in that space of 5 years, we have gone through, I think, 3 prime ministers. Yeah, 3. Boris Johnson, I forget the second one, and now Rishi Sunak. And they're all, they weren't elected. Boris Johnson was elected, but the other 2 weren't. And I find that insane that they're just allowed to elect prime ministers, people that run our country on a whim. they're just allowed to
Who
bring them up
elects them?
anywhere. Because not even an election.
Who elects them if it's called an election?
So we elect them. We're meant to elect them. It's split into like houses. So there would be the Conservative, Labour. There's also separate parties like Green Party, UKIP. That doesn't exist anymore, I don't think. I hope not. That's a really party. Lib Dems, just stuff like that. But it's more so split into Conservative and Labour. And if I remember off the top of my head, what Republicans and which one's Joe Biden?
He is a Republican. Wait, no, he's a Democrat.
Yeah, because Trump was a Republican, wasn't he?
Yes, he's a member of the Democrat. Yes, so he's a Democrat. Obama was a Democrat. Bush was a Republican.
Yeah. So Labour would be Democrats in the loosest term, and Conservative would be Republicans. And it's definitely a lot better. It's because I do, from what I know from American politics, says that there's not much of a difference between the two-party system. But Labour has more credit than I'll give them for being, more about the people than the rich and, actually doing more to support them. We used to have a really good, our Labour representative was Jeremy Corbyn. He was really good. He was a man of, to put it simply, of the people. But there was some controversy surrounding that. He apparently had made some anti-Semitic. I'm not sure if that was entirely true or not, because people were saying that they weren't true. And I don't know much about the situation, so I won't say much more about it because, again, not my place. But yeah, the person who replaced him is shit. He is garbage. But, what happened is that Boris Johnson had been under controversy because of how he handled COVID, if you didn't know, or the listeners aren't aware. So during COVID, he basically, he mandated that, you can't go outside, you can only be in a household with like how many other people. I forget the rules. It's been a long, long time ago. But essentially, the rules that he had set for the country to follow, okay, he didn't follow himself. The Conservative Party did not follow themselves. They had like parties up to like 40, 50 people. They did stuff on their own accord. They said, do as I say, not as I do, basically. But then, so people who, broke COVID rules, who were not a member of parliament, who were not a part of the Conservative Party, got fined and arrested. And then people were, pointing out that after, there was this whole like leaked article on pictures of Boris Johnson and his, members of parliament, members of the Conservative Party being, pictured at a party during COVID in like, I think a couple of months after he had, made the rules and stuff like that. And he announced lockdown within England. And yeah, it caused a massive shitstorm. And he basically got kicked out because he literally broke the law. And, a prime minister or a president should not break the fucking law. But after that, there was no election for a new prime minister. Then, so if I search her up again, I forget who was elected.
Liz Truss.
Liz Truss, there we go. 40 days, I'm pretty sure she was in.
Yeah, she was 2022 to 2022.
Prime Minister. Yeah, and now we have Rishi Sunak. And then again, Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak were not voted in by the people, which is the whole point of having democracy. Them not being voted in goes against that entire idea. But yet, here we are. And it pisses me off to no end, and lots of other people off. So hopefully with this next election, we will have Labour having more of the seats in the House of Parliament, which would be great. But enough about politics, because it gives me a headache. But
it's fascinating
to keep in the loop.
Winston Churchill was one of your prime ministers.
Yes, I know who Winston Churchill is. That's right.
No, I'm saying in general. I didn't realize he was a fucking prime minister twice.
You realize? Okay.
No, I just thought he was a dude with a hat. I don't know, maybe a general. Like also Margaret Thatcher is a real person. I thought that was just a joke we made up about British people. Okay.
We wish she was a joke. No, she horrible person. Fuck her. She's piss on her grave. Everyone of the working class and even the middle class to an extent hate Margaret Thatcher. She was a bastard incarnate. Like, actually, unironically, she is despised in this country, especially by like, the Irish. Like, she is hated. And not without good fucking reason, okay? She was terrible, but I'm not going to get onto her. But yeah, the politics in our country are also they can get very hostile because, it's a similar state of America where it was, just a lot of people don't get the help they need. And a lot of people are neglected for so many different reasons. It's, you know, it's how it is.
Well, they brought that up. They brought that up in Top Boy with the mother.
Yeah.
That was here legally, you know, and she had done all of the things, but because she wasn't. There wasn't, you know, well, I haven't seen that. That's depressing. I thought she was going to get deported, but it was one of those things where she can't even work, even though she's a legal citizen of the UK because of reasons or whatever. She couldn't even work, and if she did work, she'd be deported. I just don't understand that. There was no, like, there was a woman that asked, well, do you have any of your rights or whatever the hell? Which apparently they give you money if you're fucked in the UK, like things like that. Kind of like our welfare, except probably a little bit more organized and way less fucking juiced. That's a whole other conversation. I don't know much about politics, but having been under welfare for a month and seeing how it can be abused, I was like, holy shit, this is really bad for the abuse. Not for it existing is great. I'm glad we have government programs that are assisting people. But then there are people that literally just have another kid because it gets them another $500 a month or something. And also you can get something called EBT cash, which is the same, and you can spend it on cigarettes and booze. I believe that's wrong. I do not believe the government should be paying for your habits. I believe that they should pay for food, make sure the babies don't die, maybe some diapers. And it fits under that category of you can buy other things, but most of the time people are going to shady liquors, you know?
Yeah, they'd rather enforce their own habits and their own addictions other than caring for a child, which is... It's a rampant issue in society in general, but definitely, you know, I can see it being an issue in your country as it's an issue in ours. There's a lot of kids who are, you know, they're not provided for properly, even though the government provides to their parents who don't end up providing for them. It's a hierarchy. You know, if you can't provide for your child, the government will help you with that. But then that money that goes towards helping your child goes towards stuff that you want, that you don't need, but you want because of addiction. Like it could be drugs, like you said, drugs, alcohol. Cigarettes, stuff like that. And there's no real easy way of doing it other than just recognizing that a child does not have, you know, parents that are there for that, like they have neglectful parents, and removing them from that. But then there's also the issue of the foster care system in general,
which is fucked all across the world. Yeah. They make depressing stories based on those, you know, like.
Yeah. I do, you know, have stuff about that, obviously, because my brother, I don't want to divulge too much detail because, you know, it's a podcast, personal life.
I feel like this is I feel like this is a genuine place to have a genuine conversation. If you would like to share, we don't mind. But
no, I'll share. So my brother is adopted, but he is my cousin. And, you know, he was adopted for, you know, all sorts of reasons, but the only reason that he could be adopted into a loving and caring family is that we were already related by blood. You know, his mother asked my dad to do so for him.
Do you think it's kind of like he won the lottery as far as orphanage and like orphans go, correct?
Not really luck, but more so that he was fortunate enough to have, you know, that family to come and nurture him like he's our own, because he is our own. He's my brother. Like he's my dad and my stepmother's son, and he always will be. And it's fortunate for him, but there's a lot of other examples I can think of children not having that, you know, privilege and growing up till the age of, you know, being an adult even and not getting adopted, because a lot of people will adopt young. They won't adopt like older kids,
of course,
like beyond like that 13, I think maybe. That's off my head, so I might be incorrect. But yeah, it's a fucked system where children are forced to, you know, be put into scenarios where they don't have a loving home or a loving family, unless they're fortunate enough for it. And yeah, it's fucked. Like many other things in this world, it's extremely fucked.
Which goes back into what we were talking about earlier, where these kids are, you know, destitute, don't really have money, and need to make some money, you know? And
exactly.
then they start doing the thing and then repeat.
Drugs is the easiest way for it. They're the easiest way to make money.
So do you think drugs are a bigger problem than in America? Or do you think it's the same amount, like we're a worldwide drug epidemic?
The same.
Okay.
I'd say America and the UK are equal, because I know America has had a very bad history of drug use, but so has the UK. Like stuff where people would huff fucking glue just to get a high.
I mean, that's average. You know, that's normal.
It's average, but it was like, you know, so many people would do that kind of stuff, and then it moved on to, you know, weed, and then it came on to more like ecstasy and coke and ket. And ket is like a very popular drug over here. Like,
so currently ketamine is a very popular drug in the UK?
Yeah.
Do you know why that is?
Ecstasy. Just it's a lot easier to get because a lot of people won't go into the hardcore drugs such as like opioids or fucking heroin.
Yeah,
but more
black
so,
or white, you know.
what coke is definitely the highest echelon that I've seen people take, and I've even been offered coke like numerous times, and I've always said no because while in of itself drug use is a very poor idea, I always know my limits and I know what I take. I don't want to overexert myself because I can be an anxious bastard. I can get I get worried quite easily, and I know if I take coke, my heart will probably explode, and I don't want I like my heart. I'd like it how it is. So I've only dabbled in a couple of stuff in terms of drugs, which is ketamine, ecstasy, and just it's very.
Did you do pressed pills or did you do Molly?
Both.
Okay.
Both.
Okay. So you do have
have
Molly out there, but you also have pressed pills.
Yeah, it's more so pressed pills are a lot more common than Molly. So it's where the issue is with pingers, that what we call them in of itself, ecstasy, when they're pressed pills, they can be so pingers. They can be laced very easily.
Of course.
And there's a lot of examples of, people lacing them and people dying from taking them because there's like meth in it and fucking just lots of unknown shit. And that could very easily kill someone who's not suspecting to, have that bad of a high. It's a very easy
taking
killer,
2 concentrated pills of meth and taking 2 pills of ecstasy are completely different circumstances.
Completely different circumstances, but they can both go very. It can end up very bad for a lot of different people, and I've seen a lot of people just overdose and just have very bad trips, and it's not a fun sight to see. But it is very common because the drug trade in general, if people aren't getting enough, there's a lot of demand, but not always enough supply. So people will lace and, basically just lace and spray their shit to, make it seem more appealing and make it seem more, higher quality for cheaper and whatever. When it's in reality, it's more harmful and the risk is so much fucking higher. It's important to definitely, take note of what you're taking. Go ahead. Sorry.
There was a weed dealer that I remember he had the crystalliest buds. He'd show you as beautiful, and then he'd throw you a bag, and you could always smell it for some reason through the Ziploc, and you didn't know why. Turns out it was poking micro holes in the bag because he was crushing up glass and layering it over the weed so that it would shine more. So it'd be like, oh, check this out. The terpenes are insane, blah, blah, blah. He got dealt with very quickly, but it was one of those things. I thought it was an urban myth until somebody showed me some of it. It's like, oh, bro, I think I still have some of that. He pulled it out. He's like, check this out. He's like, don't touch it like that. And he shook some of it down. He's like, that's fucking glass. That's not fucking, trichromes. That's not fucking, that's fucking glass. And it's just one of those things that's marijuana. He augmented the look of marijuana. Can you imagine how much people are stretching and stepping on cocaine, stretching and stepping on, people are getting, the biggest issue right now is fentanyl. People test your cocaine, test the cocaine because people are mixing in fentanyl and you're taking a fucking hot shot, essentially, in your nose, and it fucking stops your heart. You know what I mean? Yeah, test kits are, they've become quite not more common knowledge, but test kits are vital. There's a lot of there's a few companies and just small businesses that will sell test kits, and they're great. I will always say I don't take much anymore. I'll smoke on occasion, but other than that, I do not partake in anything at all because I know it's just gonna, for me in general, again, autism and anxiety, double A combo. I know if I take shit, it will end up badly because of my mindset and my mental space. It could. My friend wanted me to take acid, and I was immediately like, "Fuck no, I am not taking acid. I know I will freak the fuck out and I'll have a terrible time. I don't want to do that. I want to have a good time." And most of the time, that does not end up with taking drugs. But again, people will take them for so many different reasons, to cope, to enjoy themselves, But if you do take them, I always will stress and say, know your limits, test your drugs, know your limits. Don't overstep, because you can fucking die or have life-threatening injury from taking shit that's laced, and it's very common. It's really, really, really common, and not enough people in this country recognize. And it's important to know. But always test your shit.
always know what you're taking.
I had a dealer
If
that
you don't
would
know-
sell the fucking tester with, like, not sell, but give you a test kit. Like, hey, I tested
great.
it, but just in case, I'd test it, just make sure.
That's great.
You know,
That's a good dealer. I can't think of a single fucking dealer who would do that in this country. That's great. That's brilliant.
I mean,
Because drug use is always going to be a thing.
he makes
like,
a lot of money, so
And
he doesn't want people to die.
But I'd always stress that if it's done properly, it should be done in moderation. It should be done with safety and the utmost like precaution. Because again, while taking drugs in of itself is not a safe thing, you can be safe while doing it. You can know what you're taking. You can test what you're taking. Like, it's not just a blind fucking. You're not playing fucking Russian roulette. You don't have a fucking gun to your head while you're fucking trying to, have a good time. It's not always that complicated. But again, regardless, tangent over. It's, yeah.
So if you're a person going to the UK, you don't know any of the spots, what kind of food am I avoiding? Not outside of like race and stuff. I'm saying like, what kind of shops am I avoiding? What kind of shops am I looking for? As far as like grubbing up, having a good pint, like what am I trying to avoid and what am I really looking for? Like, what are the good signs of like a good pube or like a good eatery, like a good chip shop,
Okay, well, I can't exactly give you the most like accurate of tells, but in London, commonly, there's a lot of different shops. Again, chip shops or chicken shops are very common, like they're commonplace. And chicken shops rarely, they can range from mediocre to like really fucking nice. But it ultimately depends on where you are in London, like what kind of, if you're up east, if you're north, if you're west, if you're south, because there's a lot of different thresholds for, what kind of place you go to. Like, again, okay, so central London is a great baseline. It's where a lot of people go to. A lot of people, travel around central London because there's a lot of nice places in that area. Like, you have the Soho area, you have Chinatown, you have, it's a massive city and there's so much stuff within it to like go and do. You can't go wrong with a pub. If you want to have a drink, a pub is always the place to go. There's some bars that are nice. You can't really go wrong with alcohol. Like, you always find a nice bar. It's just pricing. Pubs aren't too bad, but some bars can be very fucking extortionate with how much they charge you. Like, 14 fucking pounds for a cocktail, or fucking like £8 for a pint, £10 for a fucking pint. 10 fucking pounds. That's like, I think $13 or $12.
That's an average in San Francisco, but depending on where you are, that's also extortion.
Yeah, exactly. It's more so you can't go wrong with a pub. Less so eating. It more so, you want to just see what piques your interest, because most of the time, I'd say 8 out of the 10 times you go to somewhere in central London for food, it will be good, but it might be pricey. That's the thing. Prices are always jacked up in the heart of London, less so when you're like more so up north,
like where
east,
you
south,
where you live,
or are you? I'm more east. Yeah, I'm. I'm quite close to central London, but I'm not right in the heart of it. I'm like sort of just. I'm like half an hour away on train.
For sure.
20 minutes by train.
You can get there.
It's not that bad. I can travel around quite easily. That's another point. Travel is very, very good in London. Like, a lot of people know this, but yeah, travel is so fucking good because you can take a bus almost anywhere. You can take a train almost anywhere. You can cab if you need to. We have night trains. We, have night buses all the time. And again, the public transport is, kind of getting fucked with how they pay their workers. There was a lot of train strike like over the last year, but it's still quite good for travel. If you have a pass, if you know how to get to a place in terms of learning how, the map system works, it's not complicated. It's just like colors, it's shapes and colors. That's all it is. But knowing where to travel, there are a lot of places you can go that are great. Like, okay, Camden Town, lovely. Camden Town's a lovely place. More so, you have to look for the quality of where you're going. So, Camden Town, I'll use it as an example. So, when you get to Camden Town, there's a train station, and you'll be met with a crossroad. And down to the right is where you see most of the stalls, the shops, and a lot of these shops are crap. Down this road, same to the left. But it's more so, as you go down that road, you'll come up to basically what's the word for it? Just there's a lake with a bridge, like, leads into the river, that kind of stuff. But alongside that riverfront is a lot of nice shops, and there's a Camden Town market, which is where you want to be. There are lots of nice places within that market in terms of shops, stores, like it's more so using your eyes. It's literally using your eyes. If something looks good, if you see it being cooked at a stall, you can judge but with your eyes to see if it's good. There are a lot of markets are quite commonplace within like the city. There's like a lot of Thursday markets, Wednesday markets, or just general like stalls and stands where you can see what's being cooked right in front of you. And when you can see that, you can see if it's good or not. And like 9 times out of 10, it will be fucking good. Market stall food is so fucking great. It's top tier. It's brilliant. Like you cannot go wrong. And again, with so more, store establishments like restaurants, that kind of stuff, it's more so looking at reviews, seeing, what sticks out, what's good. A place I would recommend quite highly also is Shoreditch. So with Shoreditch, you have to move all the way to the vintage area, the market area, which is near this massive warehouse. If you're going to London and you search up sort of vintage warehouse, and in that general area, you'll get a lot of great stuff. Good food, great shops, a lot of good shops like record shops, skate, food stores, cafes, stuff like that. You have to know where to look. It's definitely a guessing game because you'll have an area in Shoreditch where there's a good area and there's a shit area, which has a lot of shitty stalls, but good food. Food stalls, you can never go wrong. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Those are your key point in London. And if you're not a food store, just look at reviews. Just see what works, see what piques your interest, because there definitely will be a place for you. You just need to see what the reviews say, what prices are like, and just test the waters. Never go all in immediately. That's what I'll say. Just use your eyes, use your ears, and use your mouth. That's it.
Okay. That was interesting. I was looking at all of the little maps and like seeing where everything was. And it seems like there's so many little boroughs tucked away into these outer places. Yeah. Like Clackenburn is inside this, and then Shoreditch is right next to this. So it's cities within counties, which it makes sense. But seeing it so compact, you know what I mean? Seeing it all like right there. I don't know. It's beautiful. I can't wait to visit London. I think it'll be one of my favorite trips.
Yeah.
I have so many people to fucking see, and I will not be able to fit everything in there, but I'll just visit every year because money isn't real.
I'd say, okay, so if you look at London map, I want to just show something right now. So as you see, you look at London, you have, up north, so you'll have Wood Green, Tottenham, Walthamstow, and then south you'll have literally
Brixton,
just Croydon, Morden, New Morden. Yeah,
Croydon's where Montgomery was from, right?
Yes, indeed. And again, you look west, you have, Ealing, Greenford, Wembley, Southall. And it's interesting because literally I could hover over different parts of this map and I'll have wildly different experiences of each part of London. Like, there's so many different dichotomies within the city and within its boroughs, which are interesting to see. Like, Brixton is a massive music place. It's huge for like performances, drill. That it's more like focused on art and music with Brixton. But say somewhere like Walthamstow. Walthamstow is where I mostly grew up, and it's more so an arts area with music. There's gallery, and there's a lot of just different like art focus. It's an art focused area, and a lot of artsy people that I know came out of that area. But if you go to Walthamstow and you go to Brixton, they're similar in some ways, but wildly different in others. It's not easy to put into words, but it's more so how the environment like affects people and how it reacts to other people. It's interesting. And like, again, say you go to Canary Wharf, it's very business focused area, very business orientated, and then you go to somewhere like Farringdon, which is not too dissimilar, but it's more so, it has a lot of markets. It has a lot of, just art-focused areas. Art is massive in this country. There are lots of different kinds of artists. Like, again, you have, museums, you have exhibits, you have, live shows.
And that's the entire country, you think, is a very arts-oriented society.
Yeah, but more so London. Okay. I can't speak for the entirety of England, because I've only been in London exclusively. I've not really travelled. I've been to Cambridge. I've been to Milton Keynes once, and that's basically it. I've literally been in central London for most of, if not my entire life. And I know the city well, and there's a lot to be seen. And there's a lot of like places to see within that country. I'm not country, sorry, the city. London is not a country. I'm being stupid. But what I'm saying is that you just need to look around. That's it. You just need to see for yourself what
And
this
not get
like
stabbed.
city is like. Because you won't get stabbed. Again, you won't get stabbed that frequently. I promise you. I have not been stabbed at all since I've been in this country. I promise you. Like, you won't get stabbed in London at all. I'm not kidding entirely, but you know, it's not as common as people will think. You're not going to walk in like 5 minutes and it's like GTA where you get fucking like it's like Dark Souls. It's like being in the city. It's like playing Dark Souls. That's what I'll compare it to. If being in America is like playing GTA 5, you're playing Dark Souls if you come to London. That's it. That's basically it. But it's not as bad as people will think. You're not going to get stabbed instantly by someone if you look at them funny. Keep to yourself, you know, especially if you're in like a group of people, like you just keep within your group. You're not going to piss many people off. If you piss someone off, you'll be fine. I've been fine, and that's the best advice I can give. Just don't stress too much. If you stress too much, you won't experience how good this city is, despite all its issues, despite all its problems. You won't experience for how good this city actually is. It's great, and I can't wait for you to come, Biz. It's gonna be brilliant. I'll give you the live shit posting and the live city info. It'll be great.
Can't wait to meet the Mandam. Am I right? I'm sorry. I can't wait to meet the Mandam in it. No, after I finish Top Boy, no, I'm going to be speaking full British, like this terrible British rendition that I tried to make of that. It's going to be like my meal, except me speaking. So, and then I'm going to, you know, go up to these roadies and be like, "What up, gangsters?" And they won't like that. They won't
you will get stabbed. You will get stabbed if you do that. Don't walk up to a guy in a night tracksuit and go, "What's up, gangsters?" You will get stabbed instantly.
No, because they give me a second to say, "You what, mate?" And then I'd be like, trying to snag some puff. And they'd be like, "Oi, oi, right." And then we're all good. We're all good.
I've never heard anybody in my life, Mesrick, say, "You want to snag some puff."
No, snag some puff. SNAG.
Oh, snag some puff? No, I've never heard that either. Literally, a guy will come to you and ask, "Do you smoke?" And you say no. And he's like, "Okay, well, take my card anyway." So I'm like, "Cool, fine."
What the
I have like 7 cards from dealers.
That's not
dealers
good.
Will just walk up to you.
That's not a good system.
I mean, a guy walked up to me and asked, Do you snort coke? I'm like, what the no, I don't snort coke. What? I don't look like a coke guy.
So it's not even like euphemistically. They just come up and they're like, "Do you smoke?" Or like, what would it be for like harder drugs?
I mean, like sometimes some dealers will sell harder stuff. Like they'll again, weed is entry, but they'll more often than not, have just stuff other than weed. Like most dealers will have weed, ket, ecstasy. Sometimes they'll have coke. And that's really it. It's those 3 with the maybe of coke. And more harder stuff, that's less common, but you have to know where to look. And I don't know where to look. I'll be honest.
Good.
But yeah, it's definitely a guy will know a guy who does something. If you know a dealer, and yeah, they'll definitely tell you, you know, who has what, and if they don't have what you want. But yeah, most dealers are they have systems. It works out somewhat well. It's like word of mouth, you know. If you have a good dealer and someone asks you for one, sometimes they will. And you'll just get it off them, or you have a local dealer. Like, it completely depends on where you are. It's very nice.
All right, well, we're coming up to our time. Is there anything you'd like to shout out? Any YouTubes or any projects you're working on right now?
Not really. No. I think I'm definitely just working on stuff outside of, you know, social media and the internet. It's more so just personal stuff. But yeah, I won't give much else other than that. It's been great being here, Mesrick. Thank you for having me. It's been a lovely little chat. I always enjoy our talks. It would have been interesting to go over how we know each other, but that's unfortunate.
I feel like it's less important. I feel like it's less important how we know each other and more important than we can
have. It's interesting.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's interesting. It is a small world, but hey, we'll have you on next time and we'll go over it if people want to.
Fair enough.
All right. Okay. I'm going to cut recording. Say bye.
Thank you for having me. Bye-bye.